Hey guys, welcome back. This is Paul with the Mysterious Huntsman Show, and I have a great guest on tonight. But before we start, I just want you to check out the page. You can go to themysteriousHuntsman.com. It's got a lot of information about the website, the merch, the YouTube channel, and Spotify. You can probably find me anywhere you want to find me. And I think it's probably time to get to our guest right now. So, just real quick, Natalie is a mom and bonus mom living in Florida and doing investigations throughout the U.S. She began experiencing paranormal activity when she was 3 years old. She started studying Bigfoot investigation methods 14 years ago and started investigations in 2024. Natalie Smearman is currently filming with Relic Films, co-hosting the Paranormal Among Us, NCI, and Blinds and Booze podcasts. What a great name. And completed filming season 1 of Beyond the Ordinary talk show with Relic Films. She filmed The Vanished, which premiered on January 31st, 2026. And she just finished filming in The Land Between the Lakes in November. And I bet that was a crazy time. Natalie Smearman, Thank you. Thank you for coming to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you for the invite. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't wait to hear all the stories, especially the Land Between the Lakes. I've been trying to get up there for quite some time now.
That was on my bucket list. And when my producer, Greg Ogle, said, hey, this is where we're going to go to film, I'm like, so excited. I was giddy. And then we had a really good team up there. And the one thing I love working with Greg and working with Relic is that I can say, I want to do this. I want to do this experiment. I want to go here and do this. He goes, okay, let's do it. We'll figure it out. And he never says no to me, ever. Even if it's dangerous, he'll never say no. And one thing he didn't say no to, which turned out to be really phenomenal, and you'll get to see it in the film when it comes out next year. I said, there's a lot of times that I have heard that, especially in the Land Between the Lakes, people getting attacked and mauled. And they noted that there was a strong cologne or perfume that they were wearing. I said, let's do it. So I went out and got a male pheromone cologne and I got a female pheromone cologne. And then I went and got one of those cheap musks and I got some brightly colored dog toys and sprayed each dog toy with all three. And he goes, I want some activity in base camp. So I said, okay, let's put these all around base camp to see what we bring in. First night, we started getting activity in base camp and it worked. And so I'm like, okay, and we did have security in base camp. So we were protected, but in the middle of the night, you're sleeping in a tent. I mean, what's the reaction time? But still, I got to hear and see so much. Even the first night, I hear these big footsteps right beside my tent. Boom, boom, like walking right past. And we had a shower and like a makeshift shower that had a big Tupperware bin, huge bin that you get from like Walmart filled with water. And these footsteps went right past my tent and started splashing in the water. Like a hand, like how you splash the water with your hand? This is what it was doing. And then every night it was rocks clanking, rocks being thrown into the water, tree knocks, whoops, whistles. One of my teammates heard one of them trip going beside her tent because it's a wooded area and they must have tripped or gotten tripped up in some of the brush. Yeah. And it was really, really a cool experience. Wow. And it was phenomenal, just phenomenal. And, we got to do a lot of experiments there that, we had 7 full days to work with and we rustic camped. And, the first couple of nights were very basic. We would go out with a team. It was a bunch of people. We would split up. We had security guards with long guns just because of the history of the area with so many people being killed and shredded and partially consumed. We needed some protection. Well, as we started to get activity and security would move in with these long guns, the activity would stop and move back. So then nothing would happen. And then by Wednesday, we said, no more security. We're going to go in vulnerable. We're going to have an all-female team go in. I am the only one with bear spray. And then 2 cameramen, my producer and the other cameraman, Jim Powell. And so they were carrying pistols in their jackets. So not real threatening, but we walked in. And it was an area where there was a lot of activity. It was in a remote graveyard in this area, and it was what nightmares are made out of. Like the road there, you're on this road for 20, 25 minutes. It's dirt, it's potholes. You're trying to maneuver and navigate. The road is very narrow, overgrown. We're pushing through, and finally we get to an area and we stop before we get to the graveyard and just kind of just absorb the energy. And the energy was really heavy. And I said, okay, we're going to push through. We pushed through. There was a little bridge that was just covered with trees. Push through that, get to the graveyard. And there were 2 vehicles with us. We parked, had the windows down and the keys in the vehicles in case we had to make an emergency getaway. We weren't fumbling to try to find keys. And so we start moving in. It was the day before a full moon. So the moon was illuminating the grounds. We could see a lot. We didn't need flashlights. We didn't need the red lights or anything. And so we push about halfway up the hill. And I said, okay, because earlier in the week, in base camp, I got growled at going to the bathroom. And it was a very bizarre growl. And I was like, I need to mimic that. Because if I got that there, if I do it here, maybe we'll get something. So I do these 3 growls that I heard. It was like, "Rah!" And I do that really, really loud. And from the top of the ridge, you hear these boom, and the ground is just shaking under our feet. And we're like, this is happening right now. This is really happening. This is insane. I said, I'm going to do it again. And I did it again. And the same thing happened. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden, movement started closing in. We started seeing or hearing movement. We didn't see anything with the naked eye or on the therm. It was only what we were hearing. And it was all around us. So one of the ladies decides to do a howl. She gets a response, but this time it's more rhythmic booming and more like almost like an indigenous Native American tribal drum. And so there's no tribes around there. There's nobody living around there. So we're recording everything, trying to capture everything. And remember, we have 2 ladies with thermal cameras just panning around. They're not seeing anything. While she did that and they were panning around, I said, do you see that light at the top of the hill at the tree line? There was a light, like a bluish white light behind the tree illuminating. I said, do you see that? And she goes, yeah. I said, do you know what that is? And she goes, no. I'm like, we need to keep an eye on that because that's not normal. There's nothing up there that would illuminate. Absolutely nothing. So as we're starting to pan around and we're making noises, one of the other ladies gets physically ill. She goes, I'm nauseous. I have a headache. I'm like, get behind me. I'll try to block the energy. So she got behind me and I'm looking around and more movements coming in. We have movement all around us. And then all of a sudden there's a weird dog that starts to bark behind us in the field. There's no houses around there. There wouldn't be a dog out there. It was just not saying that it was impossible, but it's just improbable.
Right.
So we're like, we got to keep an eye and an ear out for that as well. So Jamie starts to feel better. She moves out. Then Melissa goes, I don't feel good. I'm getting nauseous. I'm getting a headache. So she moves in behind me. Dog is still barking, but then all of a sudden we hear what sounds like music, like loud music and an engine. And I'm like, what is that? There's nothing out here. And so we're hearing it and then it just disappears. So Melissa starts to feel better. She moves out. We're still getting movement all around, but that light at the top of the hill starts to become more prominent. It's now in the shape of an oval, and there's little sparkles, like little fairy lights all around it. And I'm telling Greg, the producer, I'm like, we got to keep an eye on this. This is not okay. So then he lets out a growl, a long growl, real heavy. And as soon as he does that, Melissa and Jamie get sick again. They move in behind me to try to get better. And I look at this illuminated oval at the top of the hill, and something on all 4s crawls out of it, long and lanky. And it's on all 4s and it's moving. And I'm going, I've got a crawler at my 12 o'clock. I don't know what this thing is at this time. I have no clue. I'm like, there's something on all 4s. It's not human. It looks really long and lanky and creepy. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. So I had somebody else take a look. They're like, yeah, what is that? I'm like, I don't know. So then another one crawls out, and then a third one crawls out. And I'm like, and they're all on all fours moving back and forth, not together, but in different ways. And I'm going, this isn't good. This isn't good. And now we're getting movement closing in. The dog is still barking behind us. We are like having our head on a swivel trying to figure out what else is happening around us. We're also looking up in the trees in case something's up in the trees. And then I hear Greg shout, and he throws his camera from one hand to the other and goes for his gun. And I look up, and one of these crawlers is charging us. I grab my bear spray. I lunge forward and hit it. Because, I mean, it makes a loud noise. I'm going to shoot about 15 to 20 feet ahead of me. And I didn't know if it was going to work or not. I'm like, might as well try it. And it stopped it, and it retreated back. Of course, we had to retreat too because it was bear spray, and we had to move back down the hill. As we're moving back down the hill, and as we get closer to the trucks, we hear what we think was a woman screaming in the field behind us, a real loud woman's scream. We turn around, the camera, Jim turned around with the camera. He goes, I've got something in the field. And then one of the ladies goes over, Kristen, and she pans over with her therm. She goes, I have a large bipedal creature standing in the field watching us. So I'm like, oh God. And then I'm looking up, and then the crawlers are still back where they're at, moving around. The movement is now moving in closer. I look to the left of me. In front of my truck are 2 red orbs. I look behind the other truck. There's 2 red orbs over there. And I look back, and I mean, we're completely surrounded. And we're all like, we're surrounded, sticking close. Everybody start looking outwards because they're moving in. As soon as we said that, Jim goes, my battery just died, and it was at 100%, and my backup battery's dead. Greg goes, my battery's dead as well. And then we're having trouble with the therms, and cell phones are going, and we are now dead in the water. And so I look over to my left where those red orbs were, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. A very large Bigfoot walked behind my truck. The lower part of his hip was at the top of the bed of my truck, and he vanished into thin air like that. And I'm standing there like, did I just see that? What? I'm in complete disbelief. Now we're frantic. I'm seeing this. I was the only one who saw that. And then Greg goes, this is too much. This is now a safety issue. I'm calling it. We're done. We head back to our vehicles. As soon as we get in the vehicle, Melissa and Jamie get sick again. I feel like somebody's sitting on my chest and closing up my throat. I start the truck. I'm like, we just got to get out of here. And we just made it down the road. As soon as we hit the top of the road and turned on the other dirt road, everybody felt fine. Wow. It was the most insane investigation I have ever been on. And, you know, you hear about these stories out of the LBL and how incredible that they are. I didn't know if we were even going to have an experience, because sometimes you go out and you don't have anything.
Right.
Just like the first couple of nights, you hear something, you feel something, you know something's there, but then all of a sudden, nothing. So we weren't sure, but because we went invulnerable, we didn't pose a threat. We didn't go in, looking like we're hunters or we're going to start a war, but we went invulnerable, and that was the key to our success during that investigation.
Yeah.
And then the next night, we decided to go out again. No long guns, no camo, no nothing. We broke out into 2 groups into a totally different graveyard. There's graveyards everywhere all over the LBL.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an area that's a big loop around a forested region. And so one team went one way, my team went the other. And so we're walking down the path, and Jamie goes, I don't feel good. I'm going, okay. That's my cue. And so her sister, Amy, was with us, and she goes, let me get my therm. She gets her therm out. She goes, I have a large bipedal creature hiding behind a tree, peeking out around it. So our teammate, Sean, moves forward alone, and he gets growled at. He moves back. He goes, we're going to move ahead. And as we move ahead, this creature moves out. It moves away from the tree. and starts paralleling us in the forest. We can hear it walking, like really big steps. And we're like, we need to keep an eye on this. We're feeling a little weird. Now we're not getting anything on the therm because it's so deep in the forest, because it was very, very thick. So we couldn't see past a certain point. But then we reached a service dirt road and it stopped. So we looked down the service dirt road and there was like a camper way, way down with a little fire. And as we moved ahead, this creature did not follow us. We seem to believe, and there's a thought that this creature was watching this camper to see if he had any food. And here we come moving in behind him, and he wants to protect what he thinks he's going to get. So we just kept moving on, and then it stayed where it was. We heard other movement in the forest, but we couldn't get anything on the therm until we reached the halfway point. And Amy goes, I just caught something on the therm that I can't explain. She said it looks like a gnome or a witch's hat floating on the forest floor. She goes, I have it recorded. So fast forward the next day, she comes in, she goes, I downloaded it, sent it to us, and it does. It looks like a witch's hat just floating on the forest floor and then just disappears. We don't even know what that is. It's very bizarre. But as we got to the halfway point and saw that, we got it recorded, we kept moving around and we didn't get anything on the other side. But we stayed there and we broke out into little groups and we got to see orbs and fairy lights. And there was a couple of us that got to see a full-bodied apparition moving through the forest. It was a woman all in white, just floating, and then she would just float away. The activity in this area is just profound.
I know. I'm thinking now I got to go tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to go back. And, we did go to other areas and, it was like a hit and miss with the areas, but those two areas seemed to have the best results. But we went in regular clothes, not looking like a threat. And that's when we were successful.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. You came out blasting with both barrels tonight. I was like, yeah, we'll talk it through. We'll get into it eventually. But man, I love it. You went straight there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Matthew Delph. Does his name
Yes.
sound?
Yes.
Man, he talks about coming over here pretty soon. And I've spoken with Jody Cook, who's the founder of the North American Dogman Project. He's talking about coming out soon. So this spring, I hope to head up that way and stay a few days. I really want to get in the area and experience some of this for myself.
Yeah.
But I've got so many questions. Can I ask you some questions?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. So what time of year was this again? And what time of night was it?
Okay. So it was in November. We would go out, start about 9-10 o'clock at night. We would go till like 1-2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And so we only got to venture into one small area of the LBL.
Yeah.
If I ever were to win the lottery, I would stay in the LBL for about 3 months.
Wow. There's no telling what you'd get.
And the thing is, you would need 3 months to really dive into every piece and area and nook and cranny that there is.
Yeah. I would love to. And I'm not far. I live just below Nashville, so I'm probably 2.5 hours away from there. And
that's an easy ride.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm going to get up there very soon, I think. I think that's probably going to be my next trip.
Absolutely.
I know. So when you mention crawlers, I think I know what that is, but just for the audience, crawlers, is that the same thing as a pale crawler or a rake type?
Yes. So,
okay.
Yeah, getting back to that, we didn't know what it was.
Okay.
And we thought we kind of knew, but we wanted to do more research. So afterwards, all of us were like picking things apart, like what about this and what about that? And is that a portal? And what we found and the evidence, based on the evidence and the research, these rakes crawled out of a portal and we don't know why. And it's almost as if they were protecting something. Wow. And it was really an incredible experience, but it was eye-opening because you don't really understand what's really out there until it's in your face. And then that makes you question, what else? Why were they there? What's in the portal? What's beyond? We are hearing movement. We didn't have any Bigfoot come in and attack us or make contact or, do anything like that. It was these rakes. It was almost like a guard dog kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, now that's giving me 1,000 more questions that I want answered. Like, why are they there with Bigfoot? Earlier in the week, I had the amazing experience to go out with Martin Groves, Adam Davis, Melissa Adair, and Greg Ogles. And we all went out together and we sat in an area in the vehicle, and Martin and I were in the front seat. Everybody else was in the back seat. Martin and I go, there's something here. So we turned off the truck, had the windows down, and we're just sitting there. And I said, Martin, there's something over there. I said, I can feel the energy. He goes, yeah, there is. He goes, there's more than one thing over there. I said, do you mind if we just sit here? He goes, no, let's just sit here and wait. And so we're looking over, and I'm just watching this area where this energy is coming from. And then I see movement, and this creature stands up, massive creature, but not bulky, kind of on the thinner side, but I saw ears on top, and it just like walked away, like hunched over a little bit. And I said, did you see that? He goes, yes, I did. I said, I think it's time for us to move in closer to where we were going to go. So as we're moving closer, and we go to cross this bridge, I see a face on the side of the bridge in the foliage, and it ducks down. And I'm like, did you see that? He goes, yeah. He goes, I did. He goes, that's a sentry. That's the lookout. They know we're here. I said, well, I guess we got to move in and see what we can do. And then they stayed back. They did not want anything to do with us. And we ended up, Martin goes, Nat, walk up the hill a little bit and start singing or humming. Now, the energy was heavy. It felt like we were getting ready to be attacked. It was just heavy. I go up there, and Melissa goes with me, and we start singing You Are My Sunshine. And then all of a sudden, the energy went from very high anxiety energy to very calm and serene. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, you just calmed them down. They weren't sure about you. I said,
that's
so
interesting.
Really? So whenever there was a heavy energy, because the toilet facility, which was a block building with a hole in the floor with a little toilet seat, when I would go there, if the energy was really heavy, like anxiety around there, I would start singing because it would be at night. And as soon as I'd start singing, the energy would just drop down. It was almost like it calms them down.
Yeah, that's wild.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot, but then we have more questions.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next question. It sounds like you hit the Powerball lottery of paranormal high stream because as soon as the blue light opened up, everything came out you.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. And I think, I give a lot of credit to Greg for allowing us to pose these suggestions and these different ideas, and him going, yeah, let's go with it. Let's just go with it. Let's see what happens. And once we realized that, being aggressive going in there was not the answer, and to be vulnerable, that was the key.
That seems to be the common thread. Like most people that experience stuff, they don't go looking for it at all. It's just most of the time they're not even into it. They're just out there camping or hiking, and they have the wildest experiences. And I think that's how you have to do it. You have to go in there unassuming and unthreatening.
Yeah.
And just let it happen. Did you?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, you mentioned the creature with the ears, and for years,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Martin told you, but there was, for hundreds of years, there's been reports of Bigfoot as well as what they call Dogman. I was wondering what you think you were experiencing, but now you mentioned it. You probably got a taste of that as well.
Yes. And so, talking to locals, talking to the folks around there, what they have found is that when there's a Bigfoot in this area, a lot of times you'll find a Dogman too. And it's almost like they coexist in this dynamic. And you hear other reports from other parts of the United States where Bigfoot and Dogman don't get along.
Right.
So I find it very interesting that there's this dynamic within the LBL. So you have the Bigfoot, you have Dogman, and then you have Rakes. And it's like, well, what else is there? What else is out there if it's there? and they're coexisting. What's going on in this area?
Yeah, Mothman.
So that means I just have to go back out. Mothman will fly, absolutely, because I am originally from West Virginia. It'll be like, hey, fellow West Virginian, I'm coming over.
Yeah, if you see that guy, I think we got problems around here. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with John Keel and the Mothman prophecies and all that. And I was talking with Katie Page, who we both know, the other night. Yeah. Even most everyone I talk to nowadays are investigators. They're all in agreement that it seems like all of this is connected. Every bit
Absolutely.
of it. You're seeing orbs, you're seeing lights, you're seeing cryptids, you're seeing apparitions.
Yes.
Whether they're residual hauntings or intelligent hauntings, whatever, you're still seeing them. So,
yes, you really are. And even the orbs and the fairy lights, it's all connected because when you see orbs and fairy lights, a lot of times you will see cryptids. And when we were filming The Vanished, we saw a lot of orbs. We saw a lot of fairy lights in areas where Bigfoot was reported. And then we started hearing these strange metal sounds, this metal banging, knocking in the middle of the forest when there's nothing around. And it kept moving and getting closer. And we had that happen one night where this metal was banging. And I'm like, okay, let's not panic. It could be an old fence, something. I'm not going to make assumptions. Well, then the knocking got closer. And then it got closer to the tree line. And there's nothing on the therm. And within a few minutes, this bright white flash of light, like an old flash bulb off of one of those old cameras that blinded you. That's what happened. And then all of a sudden, all these little orbs and fairy lights showed up. So we did a couple of experiments during that. And how would they react? So if we were quiet, they would get basically bored and move away. But if we were laughing and dancing or singing, they would come in closer. And it was so cool to have that interaction because that there's an intelligence behind that because they're entertained. They're excited. They want to see what's going on. But if we're too quiet, they're like, okay, they're fine. We're just going to move away.
They're almost like children, aren't they?
They really are. It's like, entertain me. Okay, now I'm bored. I'm going to go away. Bye. I'm going to go find something else.
Man, you got to bring a whole band out there. Just have a concert.
Yeah. It was, and then we saw the orbs and the fairy lights at the LBL in the graveyard mostly. And they were really interesting. These fairy lights would come right up to us. I mean, as close as within 6 feet.
Wow.
And then they would just move away. And it was about 1:30 in the morning when we were out there and we were staying very still. We were just, but we were talking, we were having a conversation, but not being loud.
Right.
And they would just come over and see us and take a look, and that was it. It would just move on, and then more would come in, and they would just come in and out.
That's crazy. And so I want to shift gears just a little bit.
Okay.
So you jumped all in, and I'm loving it. But how did you get started? What interests you? I know that you said you started having experiences when you were as little as 3, but what happened? I mean, was there and lead me up to was there one major event that brought you to realization, this is what I want to do. I have to check this out. I have to research.
Yeah, great question. So when I was 3, I saw my great-grandmother who had been passed on for many, many years. I had never met her. And she was in the yard and I was running to her and people witnessed this. They were like, what's going on? So after that, I experienced different things throughout my childhood and teenage life where we always had a little bit of paranormal activity around us. When I was 13, my great-grandmother showed up at the foot of my bed, full apparition, watching over me. She was just a little cutie patootie with her little bun on top of her head and her little house dress. And she was just watching me, just making sure I was okay. Afterwards, I always had some sort of paranormal activity following me, or I attract it. It could be shadow figures. It could be, just apparitions. It could be footsteps beside my bed, different things. But growing up in West Virginia, you always heard about don't go outside at night, keep the blinds closed. If you hear your name in the forest, no, you didn't, no whistling. I mean, there was a whole list of rules in Appalachia. I mean, you don't do a lot of stuff. And so you hear about Bigfoot, but we all thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Because we thought parents just don't want us to go in the woods, and this is their tactic to not have us go into the forest. So fast forward, I started moving around jobs and different things, but I got to Florida pretty soon. And there was a report on the news about a Bigfoot sighting in the Ocala National Forest, which is in Central Florida. And I'm going, what? I'm like, are you serious right now? Because I had never thought it was real. And now my brain, I have a very analytical brain. I need to know things. So when that surfaced, I'm like, I have to know more. And then that's when I started diving deeper into the Bigfoot arena. And around that time, right afterwards, Finding Bigfoot came on, and then Expedition Bigfoot. And then there were documentaries, and then there were books and people, going out and investigating. I was trying to learn as much as I could, but at that time, I could not have boots on the ground. I was a mom. I was a career woman. I had to pay the bills, so I really couldn't get out there.
Right.
So, in 2015, I had gotten remarried, moved back to Florida because we were in West Virginia, went back to West Virginia, long story. And so moved to Florida, and we had a shadow figure in our home, and he would peek around the corner, and he kept peeking. And I'm like, what's this? So me being me, I need to understand more. And so I set up a list of rules, and I sat down in the room where he always was. I'm like, here's the rules. You abide by the rules. We're good. You don't want to be here. I don't want you here, but we can live harmoniously. Well, for 8.5 years, we lived just fine together. I'm like, it's okay if you peek around the corners. I get it. You're curious, but this is what you don't do. Well, my marriage started to fail. The anger made it grow. It was feeding off the negativity. And what was a little figure started to grow higher and higher, to the point that he got brave. And I woke up one night, and the shadow figure was standing over me, watching me sleep. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. Now I screamed. My kids came running, and it was frightening, absolutely frightening. And I'm like, and the next day I saged and I threatened him. I'm like, listen, you broke a rule. You don't do that. So once that all happened, that shadow dude, I call him Shadow Dude, he growled at my son one night. And I'm like, no. Well, at that point, my ex was getting ready to move out of the house. He moved out of the house, and he was gone. And once he left, the Shadow Dude left with him.
Wow.
And so the air got lighter. Everything got better in the house. It was just a better environment. And the Shadow Dude never showed back up again. So wherever he is, he's somewhere else, probably back up in West Virginia.
Do you think that was that an attachment to him personally, or did it just something that grew to attach to him?
Well, what happened is, what he brought into the house was a souvenir off of his first kill, because he was in the Army and he was in Special Forces. And so he took an item off of a body and brought it with him and carried it with him. And I'm like, you can't do that. And so once I realized that this entity did not, it didn't want to be there. I didn't want it there, but we have to live together. So I made the best of it. And he followed the rules. But with after that, in 2024, I attended a conference in Ocala, and got to meet Adam Davis and all these wonderful people, and learned so much. And then I decided to start going out and doing my own investigations here in Florida, Central Florida and South Florida. And then in February of 25, Adam called me going, listen, we're going to be doing a documentary, and we would love to have you in it. Would you like to join us? And I'm like, absolutely. And after that, everything opened up, because I got to travel, I got to investigate, I got to meet fantastic people, learn so much. And I'm so grateful for that. And we are going to be filming again later this month. And that's going to be really cool.
Oh, that is awesome. I got close one time. I was a police officer, and I just kind of responded to an ad. This was back in, I think, 2010, and it was with Ping Pong Productions that did. They were looking for, I guess, an extra investigator for their new UFO show, and I had a crazy, useless knowledge of UFOs in my brain. So, and I was a police officer. I'd been criminal investigations, been on SWAT, all this stuff. So they like that idea, I guess.
Yeah.
But I flew out there and it was going to be for National Geographic. It was called Chasing UFOs,
Mm.
and it had James Fox in it. I know you're aware of James
Yes.
Fox, just great documentarian, and a couple of other people that I didn't really know, but they decided at the last minute they didn't want a fourth investigator, which was me.
Mm.
I got, but I had the experience, and
Yeah.
I was so close, but I thought I was going to get to go travel the world. So I'm very jealous that you're going to get to do that.
Well, it's amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. I know I try to, network with as many people as I can just to learn, because everybody has their own experiences. And a year ago, I was in the mindset that Bigfoot was a biological creature. After a full year of doing extensive research and being in the field, I have changed that mindset to go, okay, it is very much a spiritual being. It can shift into different realms, and it has this ability that I can't explain. And
Yeah.
I would love, to go out and learn more and understand more. And again, if I won the lottery, I would be at the LBL for a solid 3 months.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I know we were speaking off air
Mhm.
earlier. Um, yeah, I mean, I've spoken with so many people, and this is like trained professionals, trained observers, police, military, um, airline pilots. I mean, these people are seeing something,
Yeah.
and I believe them 100% what they're telling me, or they at least believe wholeheartedly that what they saw was
Mhm.
real, and I believe them for that. I'm not sure what they saw, but I believe they saw something. And these are like Iraqi war vets.
Mhm.
I mean, they've been through major stuff, and they get here, and this thing puts the fear of God in them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's crazy what they're seeing.
Night at the LBL, we went back to base camp, and I sit and stared. I just sat in my chair staring at the fire for a solid hour. I couldn't even
Wow.
speak because I'm like, what just happened? I don't even know. And so,
And you probably start to question, did I really see that?
right.
That happens too, but
Yeah.
luckily you had all the witnesses,
I know.
you know.
While all of that was happening, I kept asking to other people, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. And they're like,
Right.
no, we're seeing this. We're seeing this. I'm like, okay, we're all seeing this. And I think they were getting sick of me saying, are you seeing that? Are you seeing that? It was insane. It was truly insane, but it was the best experience. And now it makes me question everything. I need to go back out there and I need to find more.
Oh, you're hooked.
Yes,
For-
by far.
You were so
Yeah.
you were so
And I'm
hooked
trying to
right now.
find a way to quit my regular job to go do this full time. So I'm, getting some streams of income, multiple streams of income coming in. So I don't have to
Yeah.
work my regular job and I can just do this full time.
Maybe you will win the lottery. I'm trying to do the same thing. I would love to do this full time.
Be
Um,
amazing.
have I'm into all of it, right?
Mhm.
But I did grow up. I grew up I mean, I saw Close Encounters in 77 at the drive-in. That's how old I am. It it changed me.
Mhm.
Of course, I was an impressionable kid. Of course, Star Wars was out. Everything was out.
Was great. 77 was great. I went to the drive-in in 77 and watched Star Wars.
Did you?
Oh yeah. That
Oh, yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah, I did, and it was just a great time. 70s and 80s were just incredible, and I mean, it molded kind of who I was
Mhm.
as like a free spirit or an out of the box thinker.
Yeah.
But I would love to. I want to dig in a little deeper to that, and it's like I can't do it with a full time job.
I know.
It's like,
It's so
but I got to
hard.
pay the bills.
I got to pay the bills, and my PTO is spent investigating and
I'm
filming
sure.
and going out on the weekends, and just diving into whatever I can find. And I try to go to the Everglades at least once a year and do a little
Yeah.
investigating. Usually it's in the fall.
Yeah, I've got some other police officers that I think a couple of those guys are retiring soon. So we did come to Florida a few times. I want to say the Apalachicola
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
I think we were in the swamps.
Yeah.
We would kayak on some occasions. I think we even got close or maybe came down to the Mayaca
Mhm.
swamp area
Yep.
and camped. And I mean, we didn't really, like you said, you could go there for a straight month and not hear anything. Then all of a sudden one night you will get everything.
Right.
We didn't hear anything down there, but I mean, we do still try on occasion when we can all get together. I moved to Tennessee like 11 years ago,
Mm.
away from the guys, but we still get together, and we'll do the occasional haunted asylum hunt, or we'll go look for whatever. I mean, we have looked for almost everything anywhere you can imagine.
That's so much fun though. It's so much fun.
It is. It is, and you will get hooked if you experience stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and people wonder why you keep doing it. And I'm like, it's not just for my health, which it is healthy to get out there in
Mm-hmm.
nature and hike and move around and run if you have to. So, but yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I'm like you. I'm very analytical. Like former cop, I have to know. I have to know
Mm-hmm.
what is causing this. I have to know, and I have to have proof if I can find it. I want to have proof so bad on a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah. And I was supposed to go this past weekend to St. Louis. There is an asylum out there called Emmaus, and it's a haunted
Mm,
asylum. The grounds around it, not on property, but around the property, is all forested
yeah.
and a lot of dogman activity. And the
Wow.
last time I was there, we kept getting growled at from the forest. And we stayed the night in a little Airbnb across the way. And the next morning, I went out walking the tree line. I looked down and there is a huge print. And I'm
Wow.
going, so I got documents of it and the size of it, and we measured it and looking for other prints. But we were already warned. And I went there to do a paranormal investigation. I didn't have gear to go into the forest, and there were so many ticks. They're like, don't go.
Uh,
Don't go unless you are fully geared up. And I'm like, I don't have enough gear, and I really don't want to come back with Lyme disease. So there's that.
those are the worst. The ticks are the worst.
Nasty, nasty, nasty.
I was looking up have you ever heard of the Thomas House
Yes.
in So I'll tell you a really quick story
Yeah.
that got me going.
Yeah.
Last year, I was a private investigator and I had to go work a case up there. It's like a, insurance fraud type deal. And I said, well, we'll pay for your hotel wherever you want to go. And I was like, I'm going to be right there. So I went, and I wound up being the only person in the entire place, and except for the caretaker. And I felt like I was in a Scooby-Doo movie, but it's like, this guy came, he knocked on my door like at 9 o'clock. I'm like, I haven't experienced anything. I'm like, I got work to do. I was doing my video, I was doing my notes, whatever. And he knocked on my door and said, hey, you want to go, ghost hunt? I said, sure, why not? And he was a very odd fella, but very nice, but Scooby-Doo, right?
Right.
We walked around and, we did the EVPs. We did he had a little EMF detector. I didn't really come prepared for any of that.
Right.
I was just working.
Yeah.
And we got a few spikes, got a couple of odd sounds, a couple of odd vibes, feelings, but nothing. I went to bed. It's like, I'm in one of the most haunted houses, supposedly in the whole state of Tennessee, if not the Southeast. It's been on every show. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. 2 o'clock that morning. And I was, like I said, I think I was the only one in the whole building, and I was downstairs near the front door in case I had to run. And it was like, I smelled something so terribly, like just dead animal. I mean, it woke me up out of a, dead sleep. This was like 2:30, something like that. And I smelled, it was horrible. And as soon as it came in, it went away. And I was like, well, that was really odd. And then I fell back asleep, and probably about maybe 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, that smell came back, woke me up from a sound sleep. And it was just really odd. And once again, it came in and it just went away really fast.
Wow.
But I don't know what that was, but anyway, very, very cool experience, very cool building. Just to say that I went there.
Yeah.
I've got pictures and video of being there, but I want to go back when I can take some equipment and
Right.
do it right,
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Absolutely.
but
Did they have a
the
basement? Did you go into the basement? Do they have one?
you know what? I think they did, but I don't think I was allowed to. It's
Mm.
like, I think they said it might have been flooded
Mm.
because there's a creek nearby, and I think that's what it was. I think that it's built up on like limestone rock and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So the foundation is just like really weird there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was flooded most of the time.
Boy.
But it was beautiful and very eclectic, and you may have been there, but
No, I
it's just
haven't been
really,
there yet. That's on my bucket list to go.
well, yeah, you need to go. I mean, as soon as you walk in the door, it's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's in every horror movie you see, but it's beautiful, and they're very nice, very friendly. I loved it there.
That is
But yeah, you
awesome.
need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. One place that I love to go is just northeast of Kansas City, and it's a place called Ray County Museum, and
Okay.
it is incredibly haunted. And I
Wow.
mean, at night, there's activity everywhere, and we were doing a full-blown investigation. There was a lot of us in there, and we were getting activity in almost every room. And
Mm.
then we're in this one room, and luckily we had a psychic medium with us who was really just reading everything and just absorbing. And then I hear Greg, the producer, start screaming my name from the hallway. And I'm going, what's going on? And I go running, and he runs to me and just takes his shirt and rips it off. He goes,
Wow.
what's happening? And there were like 4 scratch marks on one side, 4 scratch marks on another, and he just went down his back and broke the skin.
Jeez.
I'm like, who did you anger? I'm like, what did you do?
Yeah.
He goes, and so we got film of that. We got everything documented. He goes, I'm going downstairs. And so, because it's 2 stories plus a basement. And in the basement, I got pushed, I got growled at, and one woman got chased into a room by something not nice.
Yeah. Wow. I need to hang out with you more.
Yeah. We have we go to some crazy places. Now, honestly, there are places that I go that I'm like, I got nothing. I got absolutely
for sure.
nothing. And I mean, they could look scary. And you're like, if you were to see this on film or on TV, you're like, oh God, I wouldn't go in there. But then you go in and it's like, there's not a thing here. No activity, no knocks, not even a little like brush of something, nothing.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the whole UFO UAP thing that's going on? And I know we just completely shifted gears,
okay.
But I still think all of that's even connected as well.
I 100% agree.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, where do you lie in what these things might be, and with the new, President Trump coming out saying we're gonna do this eventually. I don't know when.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's gonna happen, but
yeah,
he's busy right now.
He's a little busy.
Yeah, but
yeah, I've always believed there were UFOs in and around, and I mean, I truly believe that they have visited us over centuries and centuries. This is nothing new. I mean, look at the pyramids. There's pyramids all over the world that resemble the same thing, but they're not even connected. And there would be very little way of connecting those people together. A lot of hieroglyphs and things that you will find throughout the world resemble one another or resemble something that looks as if it's an alien.
Yes.
And so, with that said, I believe that they are here. They're living on Earth, whether we can see them or not. Deep in the depths of the ocean, we have not explored. We've only seen a fraction of the ocean. In addition, deep into the mountains, deep under the surface of the earth, the ground here, there's a lot where they could be. So I truly believe that they are already here among us, whether they're living among us or just on the planet. I truly believe that they're here. But yes, I do believe that it is all connected. Have the cryptids, and for instance, Emmaus. It's a abandoned asylum, haunted. There's all these buildings. On the property are cryptids. And then you could sit out there and you could see UFOs. You see all 3, and it's all around the same area. Quite often you will see a Bigfoot and a UFO, and people will encounter. I saw a Bigfoot, then I saw a UFO, or I saw a UFO and there was an orb, and then a Bigfoot appeared out of the orb, or the Bigfoot and then it went into an orb and then just disappeared. And there's portals. There's all different layers and realms and and dimensions. And in my opinion, we're a very arrogant species that we think that we know so much, and we know nothing.
No, look at Skinwalker Ranch. I mean,
absolutely,
prime example.
Absolutely, look at that place. That is an area where we need to investigate what is happening there, what's happening underground, what's happening above. There are so many experiments that you could run there and not even scratch the surface.
Yeah.
And so we are very ignorant to think that we understand what's even happening on our own planet.
Totally. And I'm with you. I think things have been here a long time. I personally think that even the the pyramids aren't exactly what the culture thinks they are. I think they inherited it from years even before them.
Yeah.
Even the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Asian culture, the pyramids are everywhere.
Everywhere.
We talked about giants earlier, and I know we could talk about everything.
Yeah, we could
tonight. But I don't want to keep you too long.
That's okay.
But definitely, I'll just let you close it out. What is your favorite thing to investigate? And I think I already know probably, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, I absolutely love investigating Bigfoot.
Yeah, I figured.
Because you hear about encounters where you get an angry Bigfoot, you get a nice Bigfoot, you get a protective Bigfoot, you get a shy Bigfoot. They have personalities just like we do. Not often do you run across an encounter with a Dogman or a Rake going, well, they were kind of friendly. No, they're mean. They're vicious. They attack. So there's a huge difference. So I would like to investigate Bigfoot more to better understand how they interact with one another, what the connection is with their relationship with Dogman and the Rake in the LBL, and how that translates outside of the LBL, because not all the time does it. So I think there's such a rich source of investigation throughout not just the United States, but the world, that we can have a better understanding.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like I need to go to the LBL sooner sooner than later.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well.
Okay, twist your arm. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the rest of my PTO this year.
Okay.
Well, Natalie, it's been awesome talking with you.
Paul, thank you.
I definitely I would love to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Soon, and just so we can dig in. I know you're going to have more adventures, more things to talk about. And I'm looking forward to The Vanish to come out. And that's another whole thing I didn't even get to. I wanted to talk to you about what your thoughts are on the missing 411, David Paulides stuff, which that's craziness.
It is
already. And I think our audience is well aware of what we're all talking about here, but maybe next time we could just start there.
Yeah.
We could come out guns blazing.
Guns blazing there too, because I've got a lot of opinions on that too.
Oh my goodness. I should just keep going.
Yeah. So just one last note. The Vanished will be.
Let's hear about it.
Well, it's already being released. It's in a process to be streamed. We're getting the DVDs and the Blu-rays ready for purchase, and it will be announced on our social media. You can either friend request me, Natalie Smearman, on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, or Relic Films Media. Go ahead and you could follow Relic Films Media on Facebook and also YouTube. So if you subscribe to YouTube channel, that's the one. That's where all the unique videos are.
Good. You're a pro at this. I should have just let you talk all this by yourself. Well, yeah, because I was going to ask you, all right, tell everybody where they can contact you.
Yeah,
so you did it.
Right there.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you again so much.
And this has been fun.
It has. I'm definitely going to have you back on again.
Awesome.
And maybe if you guys are up here and if you need an extra foot or boots on the ground, I'll be glad to.
We would love to
go to LBL with you.
Yeah.
I know Matt Delph keeps talking about it. I hadn't gotten in touch with Martin Groves yet, but Jody Cook has mentioned it. Even Ron Moorhead told me they were going to try and he was going to get back in touch with Martin, and they were going to come up maybe late spring. Yeah. So I'm hoping I'll get a phone call. If not, I'll just sit here in my sad little room and wait for everybody else to have fun without me.
Well, you know what? Martin Groves just announced, they just announced that Martin is going to be at the Gatlinburg Bigfoot Conference this year in July, the end of July. So that's going to be so much fun. He is such a great speaker, and I adore that man.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. I've not heard him live, but I definitely want to get up with him some.
He's mesmerizing. You will sit there in just awe and not want to get up and want him to continue speaking. He's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, I love that. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Again,
thank you.
Thanks to you guys for listening to the show tonight. Again, you can find me on most podcast platforms. You can find my YouTube channel as well as the website. But we're just going to take it on out of here. And I appreciate you guys listening. And with that, keep on hunting the truth.
Thanks.